Well, hello and welcome to the podcast. I am super thrilled about today. It's launch day and I've, tried recording podcasts in the past. And this time I was really thinking about should I do it, should I not? And here I am launching officially the Soundtrack of Self podcast with a visual and the audio. And I'm really, really excited. I can't wait. I have so many ideas and so many things I want to do with the podcast. So let me introduce myself. First things first. I am Paulina. I'm 20 years old. Nope, that was a mistake. I'm 28 years old and I'm an artist. Super heavy into personal development and self-improvement. Kind of been since I guess since I'm 20. And I think that I can bring a lot of experiences, a lot of tips and tricks that I've learned in therapy maybe, as well as that being connected with being an artist and my development as an artist into this podcast. And I feel like I want to create this as a free platform to share life stories, to share inspirational stories, to talk about certain things, topics such as mental health, or even hip hop and R&B music, or just like the music industry, or how self-development kind of reflects in being an artist. And it's funny because I've never realized that until I would say probably this year, yeah. I have never realized how much self-improvement or just you developing as a human has to do with you as an artist. So as I grew to be more self-trusting, more self-confident, and more, I would say, self-loving, I grew so much more as an artist automatically just because I was self-trusting in my personal life with the decisions that I make. I started becoming very self-trusting in my artistic being as well and with the music that I make. So that kind of made me think. It made me think, hey, is there actually a connection between self-development and being an artist? Like, does your development as an artist reflect in your personal life, or does your personal life and the development in your personal life reflect in your artistic being? And that really made me think, and I was like, hold up, I may be onto something here. And I figured I will create this podcast for everyone. However, I do feel like it may benefit the artists a lot because it has a lot to do, with music and just being an artist. I will also share, certain tips and tricks that I've learned as an artist, things that I can share. And so this podcast, I'm super excited about. I made a few notes just so I can look at it and see, not to lose what I want to say. So I made a few notes about why I really wanted to create this podcast. Now, first, like I said, I'm an artist. I do have a lot of experience in my artistic being, such as being on stage, being in a studio, recording music, from doing what other people think fit me more, to doing what I love to do instead of listening to other people, from being insecure about other people criticizing me to not caring about what other people criticize me with. And so I feel like I can share a lot of insight for that, as well as me just having generally, of course, like a passion for music. So I do think I will have a lot to talk about when it comes to that. And as I said in the beginning, personal development has always kind of been a little bit of I mean, not really a little bit, but like a big interest of mine, because I come from I wouldn't say difficult childhood, but I would say from difficult circumstances. And I, at some point, noticed that it really made me, I guess, think about what my place is in this world and what I can do in order to sort of do better, I guess. I'm gonna find the right words for this, but I think the most important thing for me was to not be where I come from and what I was surrounded with, because I had bigger, I guess, goals or visions for myself, and a lot of limited beliefs that got taught to me. And so I never really, I started questioning the religion when I was, I think, 14 or 15 years old. And I think it all started kind of with that, before I turned 13 and 14. I was kind of doing everything that I got taught to do. And then I started kind of questioning things, and it started with the religion. Why do I have to do this? Why do I, have to take my piercing off when I go to church? Why do I have to wear something on my head when I go to church? Why do other people in church judge me for how I look? For example, and that's not to say that all churches are like that, but the circumstances that I come from, are more like that. And so, I started questioning things. And I feel like with my very first, very bad heartbreak, I started getting into more the positivity, the meditation, the notes, the positive quotes and stuff. Never really understanding what it really does or what I'm really doing. I just did it because I just seen it somewhere and I just repeated after it, basically. And the older I got, the more I realized, okay, I see what I'm doing. I understand it more. Not to even mention that I fell into a super, super deep depression, probably the worst depression of my life. Of course, I had suicidal thoughts and everything. I was kind of scared of myself at that point when I think I was 21. I think I was 21 years old. And that made me seek help. And I went to therapy. Now that opened a different horizon for me. That opened a huge, huge horizon for me, as far as what I can do and what I want to do, where I come from, and all that stuff. So I kind of feel like my personal development journey consciously started then, but I do think unconsciously it started when I started questioning things, when it came to religion, when I was 14, 15, it started there. And it kind of continued throughout now. And the older I get, the more conscious I grow into those kind of topics, self-improvement and whatnot. And I just noticed that it had so much connection to my artistic being. I just really see a huge, huge connection. And I never really thought about that until just recently. I was like, hold on, this is really something. Now, so I want to basically talk about, personal growth, as well as mental health on here. What that may have to do with being an artist or the other way around. And criticism, for example, it can go, or it can apply to the personal life as well as the artistic life, as well as you being the artist. So so now also, let me see. Oh yeah, so I don't know if I've mentioned that earlier, but I do want to, in the future, invite people and guests that I find inspiring, that want to share their stories and want to share their, I guess, soundtrack of life. That's kind of what the podcast is, right? What the podcast is. And I do want to create a platform where people can just exchange stories, life stories. I'm going to share some life stories of mine and inspirational stories of entrepreneurs, maybe. I do have a few people in mind that I would love to have on my show or on this podcast. So I do feel like it could benefit maybe one person or the other. I would love for that to be inspiring for you guys. But most importantly, I do want to use this platform to, talk about my experiences, share my experiences to let you know that in certain things you're not alone, and to give you kind of like a platform that you can get inspired by. So yeah, this is going to be the soundtrack of Self podcast. I don't know if I said the soundtrack of life. I think I did say it. I think I did say the soundtrack of life when I meant the soundtrack of self, because that's the title, right? Okay, so let's dive into something that I have noted here. By the way, I want to start this podcast with a quote that I just heard yesterday. I'm not sure what's his name, but I do listen to a podcast called The Diary of a CEO. I think his name is Steven. I think that's a host. I'm not quite sure. Oh my God. I listen to this podcast so much, but I still don't know his name. But I think it's Steven. And he shared a quote, by the way, very, very recommendable podcast too. There are like huge guests, like big names, therapists of Justin Bieber, for example, therapists of Miley Cyrus, Robert Greene that wrote the book. He wrote multiple books, but I have The Art of Seduction, for example. Now, yeah, he shared a quote, and I want to share this quote with you guys. I feel like this is an amazing. I was so hooked, and I want to share all the gems in here. All the gems, all the quotes that I find so intriguing. I want to share it here. So the quote goes like this: "There is no self-development with no self-awareness. You can read as many books as you like, but if you can't read yourself, you can never learn." Ooh, that was deep. Now, I found that quote really intriguing. Why? Because as I said earlier, I was into self-development early on because I started questioning things. And I developed, but I wasn't aware until I went to therapy. Therapy brought me self-awareness. And I feel like this is really when things started to change. And now I'm at a place where I can say that I am really happy with the person that I am. And I'm very content. And contentment is one of my core values. I don't need to be super extravagant and super happy and all that, extraordinary stuff. I just want to be content. And I found that through my core values that this is something that I am right now. I'm content with myself as I'm still developing, as I'm still growing. And I feel like life is a whole journey. Life is a whole journey. And I don't feel like there is a point where we just say, you know what? This is the finish line. I will stop learning now because I already know everything. Now I'm going to stop learning. And that's it for me. You can be 86 years old. You can be 100 years old. And you may still learn something new. And this is life. Life is a whole process of learning. I don't think there is a goal where you're like, okay, I want to learn so and so much until I learned it all. And then I want to stop learning, So I hope also for my future that I will keep that for myself in mind, to know that there is always room for learning, for growing, and just for better things, I guess. Now, one topic that I do want to talk about today, because I already talked a lot about the podcast and what it's going to be about and stuff like that. So as it comes to self-development, I want to share with you guys things about, hold on, let me see, because I do have a few things written down and I need to pick one. Yeah, you know what? We're going to talk about caring about others' opinions. I think that's a really good one. Caring about others' opinions. Where I want to start with that is pay attention to whose opinion you want to listen to, you decide to listen to, and be very aware of whose opinion is valuable and whose opinions isn't. What I mean with that is, if you do have somebody in your life that you want to be like, that you truly respect, that you really want to follow what they do because you just find them really intriguing and inspiring, then yeah, take their opinions. That's very valuable to you because you decided that you really like that person and you really find that person inspiring. When it comes to other people, when they try to give their opinions about you, people that may not be as much of value to you because you don't respect them as much, or maybe you just don't want to be like them, then their opinion shouldn't matter as much to you. And that's just my look at it. That's just my look on it. Back then I used to be a little crybaby when it came to opinions and criticisms. I was really sensitive when it came to that. I was sensitive to the point where people would just have like constructive criticism towards me and I would just still cry, even though it was constructive criticism, Now, or I got offended, for example. That used to be a really, really big thing of mine. Now, these days, I do pay really close attention to whose opinion I take on and whose opinion should just go in one ear and out the other. Because listen, if you follow everybody's opinions, you will never be happy. You have to decide, you have to really be aware enough and self-trusting enough to really understand whose opinion is of value to me and whose opinion isn't. Because people will give their opinion regardless of if you want it or not. People sometimes, I think we all kind of know it. People sometimes will just share their opinion and you didn't even ask for it. It's like, who cared? Like, why are you giving me your opinion? And it kind of, sometimes it triggers something. We're just like, nobody asked you for your opinion. But the thing is, we cannot control what other people do. We cannot control if other people share their opinions or not. What we can control is which opinions we do actually take serious and which opinions we find as not valuable and not interesting for us, because we actually have the choice to ignore it. Ignorance, we can ignore it. I feel like ignorance is or ignoring it is such a big word, but we have the choice to just not take it on and take it serious, especially if we do not really like that person or respect that person, then their opinions shouldn't be interesting to us. Now, I had a friend of mine, and there was this one girl, And this one girl, she wasn't even a friend of hers. She was like a very distant person that she knew, but she said something about her life. She just commented about her. She did, like, this distant person didn't even know about my friend's story. She didn't even know about her life. She was just basing her opinion based on what she got told and what she sees. And what she sees, maybe a person that is at their low point. So she doesn't really, she's just basing her opinion based upon that. And my friend took that very, very, very personal. And, it was very hard to hear that for her. And I did remind her, like, is she a friend to you? Is she a person that you respect highly? Is she somebody that you want to be like? And she answered no to all of those questions. And I was like, then why do you care about her opinion? And she couldn't even answer me that. She was like, it just hurts. I was like, why does it hurt if her opinion is not even of value? So there is something that is deeper in it. If it hurts you and you don't want to be like that person and you don't even respect that person, and that person may not even know about your life, and she is forming a picture of you that may not even be true, let them think that. Let them form their opinion about you. It's not your job to convince them otherwise. If they want to think that about you, they want to think that about you. Because real people and the people that belong into your life, they will see the best in you. They will see the best in you. They will push you. They will support your confidence. They will support your self-love. They will support your creativity. And so, with that, the caring about others' opinions is very important. Also, it of course reflects in the artistic being, because, listen, for the longest time, I cared about what other people thought about my creative process and my creativity. It was always very important to me if people liked it or not. And there comes the caring about their opinions. And at some point this year, I was like, why would I care about other people's opinions about the art that I am creating and I am having fun doing? It should not matter, because essentially, I know what I'm doing, and what I'm doing is literally only there to please me. Now, I hope that I could inspire or find people that are just as crazy as me to like the same music that I make, to like the same music that I like, and them celebrating it. But if they don't, then they don't. Now, when it comes to my music per se, I was a singer for the longest time, and I did rap as well. But I never considered myself as a rapper, and I still don't consider myself as a rapper. I also don't quite consider myself as a singer. But for the longest time, back then, I used to be a singer that sings ballads, Alicia Keys stuff. And then I went into the jazz, and then I kind of tried rapping and stuff. And I could never really identify what I really liked, because I liked all of those, and I still do. But I know most of the people really loved me singing. Because I know I have a voice. I know I can sing. I know I got vocals. And that's not to sound cocky. That's just to know what I can do and what I cannot do. But what I know is I can sing and I got vocals. But it's not quite what I really, really love doing for an extended period of time. Like, I used to sing sometimes, and then I used to have a break just because I just don't feel like singing. And so now I feel like I have found kind of my perfect middle. Now I turned into autotune a lot. So I have a very heavy autotune style. I use a lot of autotune on my songs just because I make a lot of like hip hop, rage. I call it new sound. I kind of call it new sound hip hop. And I use a lot of autotune on those songs, on my songs. And I love doing that, you know? And that's the part about it. I love it so much. I love it to the point where I don't really care what other people think about it. And I just feel like that point happened because I grew personally into a very self-trusting person. I trusted my decisions more and more. I trusted with what I'm doing more and more. And that reflected in my artistic being. That reflected in what I am as an artist and what I do as an artist. So now it's not like, oh, they like me singing, so I have to do that. Or they love that I can sing so well, I have to do that to kind of please them. And if they don't like my autotune, then I don't have to do that. You know, if they don't like my autotune heavy songs, then maybe I should use less autotune because they don't like it, you know? So it's more about caring about others' opinions than your opinion. Now, this is where the self-trust comes in. Like I said, the more self-trusting I grew, the more self-trusting I grew as an artist. Now, I feel like I have developed the self-trust through a lot of decisions that I made, that I said I was going to do it and then actually do it, as well as through a lot of therapy, you know. I went to therapy twice, and I feel like therapy has given me some tools to identify my feelings and emotions a lot better. Now, that made me understand myself better, and that made me trust then myself better. So here I am as an artist and as this person with a personal life, as we all have. And I just really am very mindful of whose opinions I take on and whose opinions I don't. And I disclaimer, I have really, really little people that I really take advice or opinions from. I have a very close circle when it comes to friends, very small circle when it comes to that. Like, there is a lot of people that I know, but only a few have the privilege of really being a big part of my life and really knowing about my life. So even my family kind of, you know, they don't really have that privilege too much, though I love my family a lot. I mean, you know, I would probably say my parents more, because my siblings, they do, you know, I share a lot of things with them, but my parents, not so much. But that's a topic for another episode. But for now, you know, about the opinions, I don't really care too much about that. And it may sound a little bit harsh, but I don't really care. So if somebody comments something under my posts that I may not agree with, or something that everybody says right now, everybody says that. Everybody says right now, like, oh, we like your voice, you know, don't use so much autotune. I like my voice too. Don't get me wrong. I love my voice. I know I can sing, but I just don't want to. It doesn't make me as fulfilled as what I'm doing makes me fulfilled. And that is just creating the music that I'm creating right now, which is heavy on autotune. It sounds good to me. And, you know, there are like 8 billion, more than 8 billion people on this earth. So you must be out of your mind to think that nobody will like my music. You must be out of your mind to think that, like, even you, think about it. if you make music and other people are giving their opinions as, no, it sounds trash, or no, this is that and this is that, we don't like it, and you stop doing it because they don't like it, like, I feel like that's the worst thing you can do, to act upon others people's opinions. So make sure that you do what you love to do despite of what people have to say, because one thing I know, people are going to say whatever they want to say. Like I said earlier, you cannot control what people do or what people say. You can control what you let yourself affect by it. So if you hear different opinions and you don't agree with them, it doesn't have to affect you. And if you don't know how to do that, you can go on Google. We live in, I know it sounds cliche, but we live in such a privileged generation where you can literally just go on Google or YouTube and there will be super educational blogs or vlogs or podcasts or whatnot about how you can find ways to deal with negativity, to deal with opinions, to deal with criticism. If you don't have access to a therapist, me personally, I do think that we all could use a therapist if you have a good therapist. That's very essential now. If you don't have a good therapist, that can be worse than therapy. That can be worse than not having, if you have a bad therapist, it can be worse than having no therapist. Yeah, I think that makes sense. So if your therapist is good, I do feel like all of us, everyone, could use a therapist. I know back in the day, therapy was more like something's wrong with you. You're a psychopath. Why you're in therapy? But these days, it's much more, I feel like it's more like essential. It's an essential for your mental health. It gives you tools because our parents make mistakes. Our parents are not perfect. They weren't perfect when they was raising us. Our circumstances weren't perfect. And I do feel like all of us, we go through some sort of trauma at least once in our lives. And it may sound silly when I say that, but may it be in kindergarten and somebody, like another child, steals your toy and it traumatizes you. Now, that could be a very traumatic experiences. People have different levels of sensitivity. And so that could be a very traumatic experience. Now, and that's what I'm saying. We all, in my opinion, could use a therapist. And that does not mean that something's wrong with you. That just means that you're trying to find tools and ways to deal with hardships and situations in a healthy way instead of letting it destroy you. Because that's what trauma does a lot. It destroys you. It bitters you. And I feel like that could be poison to your life, especially if you feel like you are meant for more, if you feel like there is so much more that you can reach, if you've always had this feeling of, I want to do this and I want to do so much and I'm deserving of that and I'm deserving of everything in this world and I want this and I want that, then, but you maybe was blocking yourself from doing it, then you should totally find tools in order to get where you want to be. And even people that don't believe they deserve all of this, you do. You do deserve every single little thing that you are envious of somebody else having. Envious is not a good emotion, but if you're envious, it just means that you want this thing, but you don't have it. And that just means that you think you can have it, but you don't have it. So now it makes you think you're not deserving of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but this is just kind of like how I'm thinking right now. So even if you don't think like you're deserving of something, you are deserving of everything that you can imagine. And I tell my siblings that all the time, and this is what I'm going to close this episode off with. My siblings are a lot younger than I. My older brother, he's like 17, and all the other three, they're 11 years old, and the twins are 14. So I always tell my siblings, especially because they're so young, and I wish I had somebody tell me that when I was their age, I don't want to put limiting beliefs upon them. I don't want to be like, you have to do this and you have to do that. And maybe things that got taught to me, silly things. Like if you whistle in your house, that's a Russian traditional belief. If you whistle in the house, you will be broke. And just that unconsciously does something to you. As you grow up, unconsciously, you will have this fear mindset about money, and I'm just now I think 2 months ago started to realize that. I watched so many videos about it and I was like, hold up. And then therapy kind of confirmed it, and I was like, so many beliefs that I grew up with have been really limiting. I wanted to say wrong, but I don't want to say wrong because they were just limiting. Who are we to say something is right or wrong? They were just limiting beliefs that I was raised with, and I don't want to put that on my siblings or at some point my kids. So what I tell my siblings, to get back to the point, I was rambling a little bit. To get back to the point, what I tell my siblings always is, you can do anything that you want to do if you put your mind to it and if you put work into it. Then you can do anything you want to do. Do I think it is impossible? No. Do I think you can be anything you want to be? I think you could be it, but I think Gary Vee said it the other day in a video. He was like, you can tell your kids that they can be anything they want to be. You just have to tell them that they cannot be the best at anything they want to be. And I do agree with that a lot. So I do want to tell my siblings they can do anything that they want to do. I don't think there is a limit to what we could do, because think about it. The inventors of a rocket, okay? Who on earth, it sounds so crazy when I say that, but who on earth back in the days would have thought, when the earth was maybe still flat, okay, back then, who on earth would have thought that you could travel outside of Earth? Who on earth thought that you could land on the moon or on another planet? Just like leave the atmosphere, just like leave into space. Imagine this one person that believed in it back then saying, one day, humans will be able to land and be on the moon. Imagine how fucking crazy people looked at that person. Because he had a belief that wasn't limited, and the others were like, what the fuck? He is crazy. And now look at us. Look at us now. Traveling to space, traveling to the moon, traveling to Mars. We will have rockets flying to space for commercial flights soon. It's already in the making. You could just buy a ticket for what is it, like 300,000 or so, 200,000, and you can literally fly to space and just look at the Earth from space. There is one thing that I want to say. And that is just a personal thing of mine. I know a lot of people looked at me crazy for saying that, because physically, it's not possible to us. Physically, it's not even you can even comprehend that this could be a thing. I always told a lot of my friends, one day, we will be able, I don't know how you call it in English, we will be able to transport or beam. I don't know if that is an English word, but like beam from one place to the other, which means like disappear from one place and appear on the other side of the world within seconds. So your physical body basically will be in another place within seconds. Now, it's not it's not even in our heads comprehensible how it could be possible for our physical bodies to even do that. But who knows what will happen in 500 years, man? We don't know. In 500 years, this may be a thing because, everything is developing. And us as humans, we are developing too. And this podcast is about self-development. I think that was a great ending. And yeah, I am very, very happy to have talked about actually so much I didn't think I was going to talk about today. But I hope you enjoyed this podcast episode. There will be a lot more to come. I'm super excited for the future episodes. And you can always let me know what would interest you, what you would want to hear about, what you would want to know about me, maybe about my life, or about tips and tricks that you would want to hear about. So yeah, just let me know any ideas that you have. Basically, just let me know in the comments or DM me, whatever way suits you. So thank you for listening, with that being said. And I hope you will have a great day. And I hope you enjoyed it. It's your girl, Paulina. Until next time. Bye-bye.